Oh, a microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, should be obvious to everybody. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from my basement bunker beneath Kettle Radio. Welcome to the Fourth Hour. It's great to have you along. Jimmy Kimmel remains in the news, and ABC's reaction and his firing, and the FCC getting involved. And we've seen reaction here over the last few days from several people, I think, notable, worth sharing with you. Let's start with, if I can find it, where is it? Oh, here we go. Senator Rand Paul, who was on ABC talking about this he was on NBC's Meet the Press, talking about what happened to Jimmy Kimmel and his firing. And this is Senator Rand Paul yesterday.
Absolutely inappropriate. Brendan Carr's got no business weighing in on this. But people have to also realize that despicable comments, you have the right to say them, but you don't have the right to employment. Virtually everybody employed, probably including yourself, as a code of conduct.
So what are you saying there? I want to make sure you catch it. Talking about the FCC, and he's upset about the FCC and the commissioner, Brendan Carr, going after then whether it's Jimmy Kimmel or late night and so on. Senator Ted Cruz also has spoken about this over the course of the last few days. He talked about it on his program over the weekend. He's saying he thinks this will be bad for conservatives. So this was on the Cruz podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. He said that the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, sounded like a mafioso when he threatened to go after broadcast licenses in response to Kimmel's remarks. And he said that will end up being bad for conservatives. There will come a time when a Democrat wins the White House. They will get rid of everything in America that's conservative. They'll get rid of every podcast. They'll get rid of everything. They will silence us. They will use this power, and they will use it ruthlessly, and that is dangerous. So he is also talking about the FCC. Now, what happened to Jimmy Kimmel actually is a little broader than that, because and I spent a lot of time on the air talking about it last week, because you had advertisers and affiliate stations who were saying, we don't want to carry the program. So that was not coming from the government. That was coming from Main Street, right? You have broadcasters on Main Street who are saying, hey, we don't want that show on our airwaves. They feel, and I think this is true in a lot of cases, that you have local affiliates who feel a lot more connection and commitment to their local community than the big broadcast networks do. So local stations were, and it was quite a number of stations, as we discussed last week, saying they didn't want to carry Jimmy Kimmel. That's one thing. Something altogether different when you have the FCC coming in and saying, and they start going after shows, hosts, whatever the situation is, start going after those people individually. How do you feel about that? I would love to get your thoughts on it. Please feel free to comment or drop me an email anytime. greg.belfridge@kelo.com is my email address. So again, wasn't the government that forced Jimmy Kimmel out of a job. It was the local stations that said, we're not going to, they refused to carry his show. And when you have affiliates who are saying, we don't want to carry this show anymore, and you had hundreds of them who were doing that, suddenly becomes a big issue, and Disney really had no choice, I think. And that, at least my perspective is, that's just the marketplace of ideas at work. I mean, affiliates who are saying, we don't want to be affiliated with that. We don't want anything to do with it. Versus the government coming in and saying, that speech is unacceptable. You can't do this, can't do that, so on. So I think there's a line there. Senator Paul walked it, I think, very well, saying that Brendan Carr should not be going after these stations, but generally supportive of what happened in the marketplace. That makes a lot of sense. So now you've got stars over at Disney, Marvel, demanding a boycott of Disney now over ABC's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. And I want to know who these folks are. And this is why I'm sharing this, because I'm going to be boycotting every show of these stars. I'll have nothing to do with it. It is just absolute. This is a laugh that this is the government. And what I find it so shocking is you have people on the left who are so fearful. Oh, there's the government, what the government's doing. Oh, that is an absolute laugh. It's untrue. We'll say no such thing here. So it starts with the star of She-Hulk saying, cancel your Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN subscriptions. And then she had a photo of her as She-Hulk. Pedro Pascal joined in on social media last week, calling for fans to defend free speech, defend democracy by boycotting Disney. Oh, please. Marissa Tomei. These are all Marissa Tomei has been a voice of the left for how long? Oh, it just gets to be way too. Yeah. Let's leave that there because I'm just gonna get worked up. So David is saying the FCC should stay on to these issues. Stations do have a responsibility to their audience, and I agree with that. I feel that very strongly. As somebody who's on the air, have a responsibility to our audience. Funny that now the left is upset with Disney. Brian also was saying that's a big no from me. FCC getting involved in is too scary. Kathy says, unless the FCC has some rules that Kimmel violated, I agree they should stay out of it. Let the market decide. And there wasn't any FCC rule that he violated. He certainly violated. He was lying when he was out there saying that this shooter was a MAGA person, and that's been disproved 6 ways from Sunday. Absolutely was untrue. So if you couldn't say that on a news program and get away with it. I mean, they would be held to pay because it's a news program. You can't say something that everybody knows to be untrue, but Jimmy Kimmel could say it. So again, I don't watch late night television, just to be really clear. My hours are such. I just don't stay up and watch late night television. And I'm getting to the point where I'm watching less and less and less. And I think this is where it's really important that you and I make that decision. Not to watch this trash, not to view these movies, not to these people who are out there and just saying these absolutely outrageous, ridiculous things. Why do you want to support that? I don't. I'd like to put a lot of these people out of work, honestly, but that's your call. I'll leave that to you. Axios this morning. Saw this story at Axios. They were talking about the Charlie Kirk Memorial signals a deeper embrace of evangelical politics on the right, and which is it's not evangelical politics. It's talking about Christ and what you saw where people were moved by Christ. That's what you saw yesterday. It's what you and I talked about on the show this morning. So, but the guy that evangelical politics, here's the thing: if you're a Christian, you carry Christ, you carry that your Christianity, you carry it into everything you do. You carry it into everything. If you're living your faith, right? So, of course, then you saw people who were responding in a really powerful way, speaking out to Christ, and no mention of that at left-leaning, left-wing Axios. It's just, they want to skirt around the issue. Of course they do. Absolutely, of course they do. What absolute trash Axios just day after day is putting out there. This is from townhall.com. Kurt Schlichter. Democrats, tell your perverted allies to stop murdering people. I laugh only because Schlichter is very abrupt. He's going to say it he's going to tell you what he feels. So he said there's a famous clip of the late, great Andrew Breitbart confronting a crowd of leftist weirdos shouting, stop raping people. Leftists were, in fact, raping people, just as leftists are now, in fact, murdering people, specifically conservatives. Their biggest free speech atrocity in recent memory is not the sidelining of some late-night leftist hack who is not funny, he's saying. It's the leftist shooting of Charlie Kirk, and he goes on to talk about it, that these public assassinations of civil rights leaders, Democrats are doing everything they can to obscure the fact that they and their pet psychopathic demons want us disarmed, disenfranchised, and or dead. Yeah, I think that's become very clear with the death of Charlie Kirk, the hatred that a lot of these people have in their hearts. And this is why I want to commit to you. I don't want to speak of anybody and it's tough for me. I mean, at times, that's difficult for me to not speak because I get infuriated and my emotions get the best of me, and Christ isn't getting the best of me, and that's very much on my mind. And I thought, with the words at Charlie Kirk's funeral yesterday, Stephen Miller in particular talking about, our hearts are on fire, and very much the way that I feel. Okay, a few other stories I wanted to share with you. This one, Kamala Harris is out with her new book. This time, she's not bending to Biden's bullies. This is written by Michael LaRosa. It's an opinion piece at foxnews.com. And the argument from the Biden team was he has to run because she can't. She was Vice President Kamala Harris. He was Joe Biden. So Biden had to run because his team didn't believe she could. So then LaRosa says, then why did you pick her in the first place? Yeah, why would you pick her to be vice president if you didn't think she could run? If you didn't think she could become the president? Silence, deflection, business as usual. Now, this is coming from someone who's part of the Kamala Harris camp. This is not me saying this. It's pretty powerful. We were instructed to parrot one line. No one runs for president for 4 years. So that was their strategy. No one runs for president for 4 years. So Joe Biden was running. He was running for 8 years. And so it's just a foregone conclusion that Joe Biden was going to run again. Biden won the most votes of anyone for president in our country's history. Yeah. Not true. I don't believe that's true. And this goes on. But it just caught my eye. And it made me a little bit more interested. If she's taking that honest a look in Kamala Harris is, if she's being that honest about what was going on in the Biden administration, it might be worth a look to see what was actually happening and what they were saying. We're going to leave it there today. You have made it to the end of the video, so you're part of my gallery of champions. Special salute to the Bunker Brigade. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, please do so. That would also be very much appreciated. So until tomorrow, my friend, I'm underground and gone.